Are live, and I am excited to have Dr. Jennifer Gramith live in the classroom today. So as I know all of you love Dr. Gramith, I need for you to share the word, share it with all your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, text, call, tag, whatever you need to do, because that also helps us grow the classroom, and it also helps Dr. Gramith with her sharing her message of health and wellness. So I'm going to start the record button so that we can include our friends from podcast. And so today we have Dr. Jennifer Gramith. We're going to be talking about the hand. We're going to be talking about ZYTO and Evox and how emotions play a key role in our health. So fasten your seatbelt, get in the moment. It's time to dance. We're going to learn together.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as you know, we've talked many times about how the emotional component connects to the physical body. The things that we trap in our body, the things we deal with, maybe it's not just from us, but from our ancestry that gets handed down to us. Maybe those are things that are trapped in our body as well. Well, we have learned from research that this information that we may or may not have, maybe it's from us or maybe it's from our ancestry, gets stored in our body. And if it's not dealt with, it could lead to dis-ease. So I asked Dr. Jennifer Gramith, ND, who is also a certified lymphedema therapist, who she trains the people who do this on you, to tell us a little bit more about how she uses some tools to dig deeper into the health being of each individual she helps. And so, of course, in her usual flair, she said, absolutely yes. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Jennifer Gramith is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Gramith. Welcome back. We missed you last month.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor as always to be back. I'm so excited about this topic, because it's so necessary for people to understand the importance of the emotions and how it plays a role in their health. And so, today I want your audience to kind of sit with their, just pay attention to their body and where they feel pain, issues that they're having, like they're having vision issues, they can't hear as well. Anything like that, because those are signs of certain emotions that have not been dealt with. And so it's really important as a practitioner to teach patients how to understand that you can't just suppress and push down these emotions that we consider negative. because it's all about the yin and the yang. Okay, balance in life. You have stress and trauma, and it builds character, and it helps us to grow and to expand our knowledge. So it's not all a bad thing. We don't have to be a victim from that. We can actually learn from that, and we can bring more and more balance and become more and more peaceful and joyful. But without those negative emotions, those traumas, we become very stagnant, very shallow people. And so I want you to pay attention, as you will probably get triggered as we talk about certain things. You may start feeling, oh, I don't feel really well in my stomach, or my throat hurts, or, my knee is acting up. You may have a physical symptom because we are triggering you as we talk about anger, abandonment, any kind of trauma. You pay attention to that in your body, and it will tell you something. So we'll go over some of those things, because today we're going to talk about Evox, which is one of the coolest tools I think I have in my practice. And it's, ZYTO. I used ZYTO for years before I bought into the Evox. And it's because I just couldn't believe that it worked so well, because I have a background in psychology. And, we're taught talk therapy and, just talk about your emotions. And there's some benefit to that. But what I have found is that people get stuck in the rut when they just relive the emotion. So you have to teach them how to get beyond that. And you have to bring that balance in their life, just like the infinity sign. You have to, I may get angry or frustrated when my husband does this, but it's, sometimes he makes me feel really loved and happy. So you got to really see the reality of the emotion and not be afraid of, feeling it. And in our society, we don't want to feel the negative stuff. We want to take an antidepressant. We want to shove it down. And that creates a body full of disease, not just one, but many, many different kinds.
Well, it's interesting, because I want to go back, and you were saying, and I do want to talk about what Evox is, what ZYTO is, before we go into this conversation. But it's interesting, the way we think about symptoms. The way we think about a symptom, you and I, is different than the way the world thinks about a symptom. So when I get a symptom, I stop and I say, okay, what's my body trying to tell me? Right. If my knee is hurting, or my throat is hurting, or when we go to the doctor with that symptom, the doctor calls it a diagnosis and gives you medication for it. But when we're looking at symptoms the way you and I are speaking about today, that is the body speaking to us, right? Telling us there's something we need to deal with. I can't hear you.
Oh,
okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. And so, once it becomes in your awareness, because a lot of stuff happens in the subconscious mind that we're not even aware of any longer. So, everybody handles stress differently. If you look at the NLP visual map, it shows you, a picture of a silhouette of a face, and it shows you the world out here with all of the information that you're exposed to. So whatever comes in front of you, that's in your conscious awareness. But how you break that down, how you use your five senses to determine if it's good or if it's bad, or how your body responds, all depends on the subconscious mind. And like you said earlier, it's things that are inherited that you've never known anything about. Mm-hmm. And it's things that from the past that you've forgotten about a lot of times. And so if you, for instance, there's been research done on children who have allergies and other types of disease. So allergies in particular, if a child sees a parent getting abused while eating a bowl of blueberries, that child can develop an allergy to the blueberries because it's a trigger. So it triggers all of that anxiety, and that anxiety triggers inflammation, and the inflammation creates the allergy. And so if you go back and you reframe that child's perception on what happened and give them an understanding and bring it back into their awareness, then they no longer have the allergy. I had that experience with my granddaughter who could not eat anything. She was afraid of food. And I think I've talked about this on your show before. And so she would only eat a couple of items. Well, me, that's not healthy diet, is what I tell my daughter. So we did Evox around her fear of food. Well, when her mother was pregnant with her, she threw up every day. Even in the delivery room, she was still throwing up. So no wonder this child had a fear of food, because she, was in the womb. She was experiencing anxiety and trauma from mama, who just got so tired of being sick all the time and worrying that it was hard for the baby, or that the baby was not going to make it because of the dehydration, the malnourishment. And so it's interesting how that's, passed down. And so that's with all of us, we perceive things one way, whether it's truth or not. It is truth in the subconscious mind, because whatever your subconscious mind doesn't know what's reality, what's not. It's what you're telling yourself. And a lot of times, if you stop and think about what you're thinking, it's very negative. I can't succeed. I can't do this. I don't deserve to live. Those types of messages that we tend to just ignore create disease in our body. So we've got to stop ignoring them. We've got to pay attention to them if we want that perfect balance in our life.
So how long does it take for suppressed emotions to manifest into disease? Does that depend on each individual and their stresses in their life? Or is it, it takes 1 to 10 years or 10 years for it to fully manifest?
It depends on each individual. Now, instantly, when you have trauma or stress, you have an acute response to that. So you usually just develop inflammation. So, I'm stressed out in traffic, and all of a sudden my inflammation markers go up. I feel pain. I have a headache. Those are the associations. So that would be more acute. But if that continues to happen and you stay in that fight and flight every single day, you're going to start to see breakdown in certain systems. And then that goes back to more genetics. Where were you weak at? Was it your kidneys, lungs? Wherever typically the genetic weakness is. But it also has to do with the emotion that you're feeling. So if you're grieving, a lot of times, many times, that will affect the function of your lungs. If you are just kind of disgusted with life, that can affect your digestion. If you're angry or resentful, liver, gallbladder, these are common. This isn't written in concrete, but it is the most common organs association with the emotions. So.
And, the fact that research has been done many, many, many years before us, work of Reiki Hammer, the work of other people, that we know that if there is problems with the liver, because I remember doing ZYTO with you, and you kept saying, you've got a lot of anger. There's anger, and I'm like, I don't feel angry, but you know what? If there's certain triggers, it brings me to that place where I felt it originally. And when I was going through my gallbladder issue, that's all I could hear you in my brain going, okay, you've got some anger issues. And I think I'm with the world, with the way that things are going. And I kept saying, God, take this anger away from me. Whatever it is, it may not be from me. It may be handed. And I'm looking at my ancestry, the way they have dealt with issues and not dealt with their anger. I could have taken part of that within me. So I was just praying the whole entire time. I was doing the gallbladder cleanse that you guided me on. And I was praying a lot, just let with each passing stone, let anger pass through me, because I knew I could not control it at this point. If I'm not aware of it, how can I control it? So I was grateful to know that, so that I can then choose to release it. So let's go back to the original ZYTO. We've done a class on ZYTO. Explain what this little handheld thing does. And I should have the cord, but this is a USB. So for those of you who have a computer, you just attach the USB. So can you share what this does and what this is, other than a nice little high five?
Looks like a mouse.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is part of the equipment needed to run a ZYTO scan, which is a biofeedback scan. And in that comprehensive scan, it's not only going to look at the function of your organs and glands, so it tells us what areas are weak. It is going to look at the emotional association with the weakness of the organs and glands. So we see the chemical exposures, the bacteria, the fungus, all of that, very important, but so is equally important is the emotional component. And, and it's not that, and that's what I always hear is people is like, I'm not angry, I'm not resentful. It's because we fight those emotions and we don't allow ourselves to process through. Anger is not a bad thing if it's appropriate. Okay, so you have to ask yourself certain questions, and you learn that. There's a book called Nonviolent Communications. Have you heard of that, Lillian? Okay, this is a great book about how to really understand and start questioning yourself about how you feel or what you think or what your beliefs are, and how to communicate with other people and yourself, not with a violent, tone. And until you read the book, you don't realize, oh, wow, I'm very violent, with my words. And again, remember, whatever you're saying, your subconscious mind believes it. So if you say, I'm never going to do this, or I can't, or, your brain, okay.
Or this job's going to kill me. This job's going to kill me. Or this marriage is going to kill me.
These kids are, exactly.
Kids are going to kill me. Yeah.
Eventually, yes, it will, because that is what, your subconscious mind runs the show. And so you've got to learn how to reframe and reprogram your subconscious mind to benefit you. Mm-hmm. And so it's very important, like the yin and yang, is to allow yourself, okay, why do I feel angry about my husband coming home late? Is that appropriate? Well, yeah, if he didn't tell you. And so you allow yourself to feel the anger, but you don't allow the anger to take up residence in your body. Okay, so you allow it to come in and just go right back out. Just like you said, I allowed it to come through me and then process out. Mm-hmm. That is the key. And so many times we just shut the door and we don't want to deal with it. It's pushing, and we're just ignoring and acting like there's nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. And that is as unhealthy as, letting it, stay in you for long periods of time. And so you have to allow yourself to feel the emotions and try to get an understanding and awareness as where's that coming from? Is it legit? Should I be angry? Should I be a little resentful? But I don't want to hold on to that. And that's the problem that you're seeing, Lillian, when people are dealing with disease, is that they've not allowed themselves to process. So it is just kind of come in and it's, placed residence in their body, and they become a victim, and they keep telling themselves more and more negative things. And it is the key to overcoming any disease process. It can't just be like, maybe my cancer, has something to do with emotions. Maybe my diabetes does. Absolutely, it does. And if you don't address it, you're still going to have this reoccurrence of the disease process over and over. You got to get to the root problem and dig those weeds out of your garden. Mm-hmm. And those are weeds for sure.
So how does this handheld thing work? Because you can do this virtually, and so you don't have to be there. So how do you know what's going on with me when I'm in Florida and you're in Woodstock, Georgia at Rightway Health and Wellness?
Exactly. So that is biofeedback, galvanic skin response. It uses the frequencies of certain, if you're talking about emotions, it's using the frequencies of certain emotions. And I'm going to go over some of those, like low emotions like shame and guilt and blame. Those frequencies are less than 20, 40 hertz, and so they're very low energy. Whereas peace and love, and those could be in the hundreds to thousands. And so, when you have those, you feel good. When you are burdened with all these negative emotions, your vibration is going to go down. And that's when you look at disease. So we'll go into that in a minute. But so that just measures your body's response to the stimuli that is being sent through the hand cradle, because you're attached to our database or software that's running various types of tests. So it's just the same as if we were to muscle test you and I was to check and ask your body questions, just it does it much, much quicker. And that's how ZYTO works. The Evox is...
So ZYTO and Evox are used in the same cradle. You use the same
cradle.
Okay.
The difference with ZYTO is going to test you. Evox is a therapy. Okay. And so with Evox, you're going to use the hand cradle because we're going to be measuring, your body's response. And so what happens as we talk about a person, place, or as I have you talk about a person, place, or a thing, the Evox will record your tones in your voice. And that tells us the emotions associated with it. Let me see.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is really amazing. And you can check the Evox, like it'll do a graft, and it'll say, if zone 1 is red or yellow, that means you feel unacknowledged versus self-validated. If it's on zone 7, anger versus acceptance of change, it's the yin and the yang. And so you can be on either side of that. And, it's important that we have balance. We don't want to be angry all the time and the whole, be angry with the whole world. But we also can't just let people run over us. You got to have that balance of being able to stand up for yourself. And so a lot of people who are in zone 7 or 8 are the ones I typically am very suspicious that they are in fight or flight all the time. And so you'll start to see breakdown in their adrenals, their kidneys, things like that. But when you're doing the therapy, we use these light frame glasses because that helps put you into the delta state, which is where...
So you're wearing those while you put your hand in the cradle? So you send the cradle plus the glasses?
Yeah, send the
Why do you do that? I've never done that.
It makes it so much more effective. You can do it without the glasses, but you really... as you know, when you want to retain information, you need to be in a certain state. And delta is where we will retain most of the information. And most people aren't in delta. So we definitely want to use those glasses in order to be able to get you into that deep meditative state. And what I've noticed is that people will release those trapped emotions very quickly when you use the glasses. Sometimes without them, they'll still release them. It just takes longer. So we want them to, release and get to the next issue and the next issue. And we always start typically with the transgenerational mom, dad, yourself, your spouse, your siblings, the people that are the most impactful. And it's not that we're looking for the negative, relationships, but we're looking for the most impactful relationships that may have shifted your perception about you negatively. And so we want to get rid of the things that don't serve you anymore, those belief patterns, those programs that you have that play over and over again all day long. We want to shift those to something that will be more edifying for you. And it works so well. I mean, I have found, and I've talked to a lot of psychologists that use this technology, and what would take us usually a year to 2 years with talk therapy or psychotherapy can be done in a few sessions. That's big. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awareness is key. And I think that why I love doing the I Am the Solution workshop. We don't have Evox, we don't have any of that. But what I love about doing the I Am the Solution workshop, which is, by the way, starts tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So check it out if you want to be a part of it. So what I love about it is the awareness. It's just that awareness that this is what I'm doing to myself. I would never speak to a child like this, but I speak to myself like that. You know, it's to seeing that realization, but it doesn't end there. You have to continue by practicing it. And that's what I love about being able to progress and do things that are beyond our comprehension. And so what was it about it that convinced you that this was working? Did you experience anything yourself with this, or did you know somebody who benefited from it?
Right. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I researched it for 5 years before I invested in it. And I just couldn't believe, you know, how well it worked so quickly. That didn't make sense to me. But, you know, after seeing hundreds of people come through and tell me, wow, I feel like a burden's been lifted off of me. Or I saw in their labs, their inflammation markers come down when I have tried every anti-inflammatory supplement on them and nothing seemed to work. So those are the people that really made me a believer. And then myself, actually, you know, when you're a practitioner, you do the things you'd never do on your clients. So I decided one weekend that I was going to do a lot of Evox on myself. And I just kept doing it and created this emotional storm within, because it's too much. Your brain can only handle so much, because that's one reason, if you study New German medicine, many times when we have trauma, we're not equipped to deal with it. So it downloads in the body for us to deal with later, but many times we don't deal with it later. And then there you go. There's the disease process. There's the breast cancer. There's the diabetes. There's the, you know, brain tumors.
Yeah, pancreatic cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so we don't want to get to that point. We want to go back and address that. But I have studied with, and we were talking about him earlier before the show, Dr. Bradley Nelson in the emotion code. And that was really, you know, opened my eyes to all of those burdens that you carry. One thing I loved about that, I actually saw Dr. Bradley Nelson at ACIM, and he was up there, and it's been a very stressful year for me. And I had done lots of rounds of Evox on my mother and my father, and, you know, transgenerational helped me tremendously, but I was having a lot of stress just with personal relationships. And it's so funny how God just brings that person.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears, and vice versa.
I'm sitting there in class, and up comes Bradley Nelson, and he starts talking about emotion code. Well, and I was like, wow, I don't know why I didn't think about using kinesiology for the emotions like we do for anything else. And it made sense to me. And so when we went back to the room that night, I started doing, you know, how many trapped emotions do I have? And I would start, do I have more than 100? You know, I'm thinking, no way. I had like over 1,400 trapped emotions in my body. So layer after layer, and I'm thinking, what? And as I started to release those using his method, it was amazing. I mean, I could feel it's like you actually had packs of weights on you, and I could feel it being removed as I went through that process. And so I actually incorporate with my practice. I teach patients how to do the emotion code. Of course
you do.
And then we start with Evox, you know, to kind of get them used to that and how to get into that meditative state. And then I teach them how to be their own doctor, you know, and to because you don't want to be dependent upon, you know, your psychologist or, you know, someone for the rest of your life. You want to learn these tools yourself. And it's something that anybody can learn. My granddaughters and grandkids can do it. I mean, it's just very easy too, but a lot of times we have so many limiting beliefs. I will have certain people who say, oh, I can't muscle test myself. I'm like, we need to Evox that out of you so that you can muscle test yourself, because that's a limiting belief. You're telling yourself that. And so you won't be able to do it because your subconscious mind, it only thinks in the present. And if you're telling it, I can't do it, then it's like, okay, you can't do it,
Yeah.
So.
I hear and obey. And interesting, Bradley Nelson, we've finalized the event is going to be November 6th. That's Saturday, November 6th in Florida, in Cocoa Beach, Florida. So we're going to be putting that up pretty soon and at whenyouneedafriend.com. And so I want to encourage all of you, if you are wanting to come to Florida, I've been wanting to come to Florida, to go ahead and book that time, and might as well meet Dr. Bradley Nelson. And we have some VIP seats as well for you to do that. I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. And while you're there, please subscribe, check out the different, like tomorrow we start our new truth series, I Am the Solution, but we have the Book of Revelation and DVD and online, and we're now getting ready to do the 100+ lessons from the Exodus on DVD as well. And make sure that you check it out online if you would like to. But most importantly, while you're there, check and like and follow all the social media, especially Odyssey and BitChute, and go to my sponsors page. And when you go there, you'll see this beautiful lady, Jennifer Gramith, her picture, Rightway Health and Wellness, that you can call, because you don't have to be in Georgia to see Dr. Gramith. You can establish a telemedicine call, or I don't know how, a phone call, and get started with Dr. Gramith. She has the different supplements, and you can even do Evox and ZYTO with this from far away. So there's so many different ways that you can support Dr. Gramith, because she is supporting the classroom. Also, you can go to my Shop Now bag, and that's where you find the workshops and all the other affiliate sponsors that we have, products that are healthy, all the way to working out the optimal way. There's also, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, or your time, your talent, your treasure, whatever you can do will help the classroom grow. As we get more and more censorship, it costs more and more to put these things together. So I want to encourage you to support Dr. Gramith, all the sponsors, and the classroom as well. Also, you can go to Dr. Gramith's office website called rightwayhealthandwellness.com. That's rightwayhealthandwellness.com. Or you can call today at 404-474-2100. That's 404. And Robert, if you can type that, that would be great. 404-474-2100, and you can start your journey to discover your what's going on in your body. I hear this all the time, Dr. Gramith. I hear, I'm doing everything right. I eat well, I sleep well, I get all this stuff done. I feel really good about my life. I just can't. There's just something that's off. I don't know what it is, but you know what? But they stop there. But what if there was a way for you to find out what was going on? What if there was a way? And so Dr. Gramith is offering a different way to help. Why is it that some people just don't want to know, Dr. Gramith?
Sometimes it's just too painful for them to relive. And so that has to do, because, your conscious mind is very logical, very analytical, and your subconscious mind is illogical. And so they just can't go there, in their mind, they just can't go there. I can't, they tell themselves they have that negative program. I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
And, like I was telling you earlier, the different emotions have different frequencies. This is how we can determine by listening to your voice analysis, the frequency, the tone in your voice, excuse me, will tell us what hertz levels you're at. So when you're doing the recording and you're talking about yourself, and you have a 20 hertz, which is shame, which can, you can feel humiliated by, loved ones. And so you just carry around that burden, that shame, and you're miserable. And, just looking at our society today makes me wonder if all of this, COVID and all of this going on and how it's spreading, we are in the media, we are constantly bombarded with shame, guilt, grief, and fear. And those are the lowest frequencies. Mm-hmm. And so you need to learn how to recognize that and up level. You need to go to courage, pride, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. Those are the highest ones. Mm-hmm. And so you have to really become consciously aware of it. ZYTO will tell us what emotions you're dealing with. What is out of balance in you? Mm-hmm. What do you could be like if you're in zone 7, I think it's 7 or 8. That's typically someone who's like Eeyore, oh, nobody cares what I have to say. Yeah, And then on the opposite side of that, that's somebody that could be, if they're extremely on the opposite, there's the bee's knees. They're, they have a huge ego and, look at me, look at me, look at me. Well, either one of those are unhealthy if given, too much. We all have these emotions. We all have these character flaws, or if they're out of balance. And so what you're trying to do is you want to reprogram your mind saying, it's not that important that everybody notices everything that I do. I know what I do and God knows what I do. Mm-hmm. And, it's okay for me to be proud of myself. That's not wrong either, but it's all about that balance. And so with the ZYTO, you can see what emotions you're out of balance and it color codes it for you. On the Evox, on the ZYTO, it just gives you the emotion. And on Evox, it'll actually tell you which emotions are extreme, in moderate, and low. And you're trying to shift that picture or that graph to where everything is more on the blues and the greens. And that means you're more balanced and you will feel it instantly. It's as you release these trapped emotions. Like I said, just when I did Evox or when I did the emotion code, it was an instant relief. A burden was lifted. And that's what blew my mind because, a lot of times when you do a lot of talk therapy, and I am all for it. I think it's great. And people should not be shamed into seeing counselors because we need people to talk to. Mm-hmm. But if you get stuck in that rut where you need that person all the time to deal with any trauma in your life, that's not healthy either. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to learn to become aware of your emotions and your feelings yourself. And then that's pretty much most of the battle. 90% of the battle is just becoming aware. Oh, I kind of feel frustrated. I feel like that. That's my go-to addiction emotion, frustration. I want to go to that. And, kids will notice that they're like, Mom, did you take your Lyzime Forte? Because I'm just like, y'all are driving me crazy and frustration. And that's not healthy, for me to stay in there. But am I going to get frustrated? Yeah. Should I get frustrated? Yeah, because they are not, doing what I expected them to do. Mm-hmm. So that causes frustration. Should I live in frustration? No. You've got to figure out how to bring balance back in your life. And so, yeah, I may feel frustrated today, but tomorrow I'm going to have more joy, or whatever. I have to constantly retrain my brain, just like I'm asking my clients to do.
Yes, absolutely. But for people, so I want to encourage you to contact Dr. Gramith. Everything that you purchase or every service that you do at Rightway Health and Wellness, if you mention Lillian McDermott Radio Show classroom or just the classroom that you saw Dr. Gramith in the classroom, you get 20% off all your services and products that you purchase. And so I wanted to clarify that with Dr. Gramith today to make sure that I'm saying it correctly, but it is all your products and services. So how much is normally the Evox? Do you do ZYTO and Evox at the same time, or is it one or the other? Or can you do both?
You can do both, but you start with the ZYTO. ZYTO will prioritize, how much of your disease or your inflammation is caused from the emotional state. And so we can see that. And so we need to, most time, you need to start with doing therapy with the emotions before you can correct, the organ function. So start with the ZYTO.
And how much is ZYTO?
ZYTO, that's a good question. Check with my staff. I think it's around $300 for a ZYTO session.
Okay.
And we're starting some new programs. That's why I'm not really sure exactly what the new pricing will be after the first of the year. But
okay.
Evox is usually part of your program, part of the therapy, just like assisted lymphatic therapy. We do Evox therapy. What's beautiful about Evox is you can do it once a week, you can do it once a month. It's whatever you can do, because once you get that emotional release, you're done. You're on to the next thing. So you don't have to do it consistently for it to be effective. You may just want to work on an issue that you're having. Let's say, you're having marital issues and you just keep seeming to push each other's buttons. Well, you can change that because you can change how you perceive that person. You're no longer pushing their buttons. And what happens? They're no longer pushing your buttons. And so just with one of the people in the equation, you can see change. And you can see change very quickly.
And so Evox, what is the approximate cost? I don't want to put you in a corner there, but what is the approximate?
I think it's about $125 a session.
$125 a session. That's great. And how long does a session take? Because I remember when I did Evox, it was about 45 minutes, but my conference call with you was longer than that. So what does it include?
The Evox is about 45 minutes to an hour. Just depends on, how long it takes you to release. And sometimes you don't get a release the very first session. It may take 1 or 2 sessions to get a release. But once you get that release, it is an immediate change and shift. And you'll notice that the things that used to really annoy you or trigger you no longer do. And that's very important, because what happens when you're triggered? Inflammation, typically. That's the first, part of it. You will get very inflamed. The inflammation goes to the weakest area, the path of least resistance. So with me, it's going to go to my digestive system or my immune system, which is, 80% of your immune system is in the gut. And so they kind of go hand in hand. And so, with another person, it may be their lungs. With another person, it may be their brain, and cause just confusion and, delirium or whatever. It just depends on each individual. So
yes. Okay. So I love the progression, how you say, okay, so that inflammation will go into the weakest part, the one that's the most hurt in your body, where it has the most baggage in your body is what I'm hearing you say. So then what happens from that point on? Inflammation
in an organ and gland will cause deterioration long term. And so the deterioration is what leads to the chronic state, and typically what leads to disease. So inflammation is part of your immune response. It's not a bad thing. But when you, just like I said, with the emotions, and they're out of balance, when your inflammation and your immune system is out of balance and all you're doing is cranking up inflammation, it is very damaging to the body, to the tissue, to the organs. But, if you get stung by a bee, you want it to get inflamed, because that's what brings and draws your white blood cells and your macrophages to clean it up. And so it's a good part of the immune response when used properly, but when overused and abused, it is very dangerous.
It's so funny. God made our bodies so perfect. And one condition, inflammation isn't good. And this is self-induced. We are the ones that, maybe a lifestyle choice, or maybe our thoughts, or something that we've done our past. So in one sense, we have control of that inflammation. We're the ones that have, can deal with it in a certain way. But then there's the other form of inflammation when you get bitten or stung, or something outside of our body, like an accident happens to us, then our body can respond naturally. Like some people with the current situation with the virus, they're so concerned about the germ versus the terrain, which we can manage and control. And so I know you guys have some questions, and I'll get to your questions. We're going to have like a 15-minute teacher's pet corner, and I'll answer your questions. But I want to address two issues. One of them is the person that says, God will take care of it, and dismisses it and hides behind God. The second situation is I released it, but it's so familiar and comfortable, victimization, I want to take it back. Is that possible?
So I do have people who say, God will handle it. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It's like the story where the guy's on top of the house during the flood, and there comes a boat, by to help him, and he's like, no, God's going to save me. And then comes another one, and then he drowns, and he goes to heaven, and he, says, God, why didn't you save me? Well, I sent, these people. God gives us these tools to help us. And so you've got to help yourself. Mm-hmm. You've got to do some things for yourself. You can't get rid of the responsibility and throw it on other people. You've got to take responsibility for mm-hmm. your thoughts and emotions, and how you respond. Yeah. And so that's very biblical. And, with the second, question too, I think that, the emotional part is the hardest thing to get people to do. People are one of my friends does a podcast called Broken to Beauty, or Beauty to Broken. Yeah. Beauty to Broken and back. And so we are all broken people. We all struggle with emotions. And I think that we bought into the fact that, there's the negative emotions, like I said, and there's the positive emotions. And if I'm not positive all the time, then, I am, I'm not happy. Mm-hmm. And you got to have balance in both of those, because you're going to have the negatives. And I think
there's contentment. There's contentment, which is, that we're called to be that.
And it was interesting to me when I did a study on the frequencies, because understanding ZYTO technology is all about frequency medicine, and how, we would look at organ health. I look at the lungs, and a healthy lung would have, a hertz of about 65 megahertz. And an unhealthy lung would be, weaker, down into the 20s and the 30s, which is, interesting. I can't even talk enough that the emotion grief is like 30. Mm-hmm. And so, it kind of ties in as you see the disease. The liver is about a 60 megahertz when it's healthy. And as it weakens, it's more the anger, the resentment, that's going to be 20, go down to 20 megahertz. So you can see that the frequencies of emotions match the frequencies of the diseased organs and glands. And I thought that was really interesting, because Chinese medicine is the one that has really put the emotion, with the organ through the 5 elements. And it's just, science always proves these different cultures to be true and be valid, and very much so. I actually have a form that breaks down each organ and gland, breaks down each emotions, and you can match up, and see the frequencies. What was the second one that you asked me about?
The second question I asked was, people that are so familiar with their pain, even though they release it, do they choose to take it back?
Yeah, they do sometimes. And that's because
victim.
There are certain emotions that are addicting. You're addicted to the emotion, whether you like to, I'm addicted to frustration because I tend to go back to that, even though I've, evoxed it many times. It's your knee-jerk reaction. And so there's certain emotions you do become addicted to because it's not good for you, but it's comfortable. You know what to expect. You're not going to be surprised. Well, yeah, I'm going to get angry and I'm going to stay angry for a while. And I'm okay with that, and it's not healthy. And those are the addicting emotions that you are very familiar with, that really harm yourself, even though you may or may not believe it, but it also harms others around you too.
Yeah.
You really have to. And that's why you have to, this brain retraining is something that you have to do for yourself on a daily basis. And it's by capturing your thoughts and thinking about what you're thinking about. And so that's what Evox allows us for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. You're really focused in on yourself and your emotions. And by allowing that time, your body says, oh, you're processing it. Now I can release it. And then it's gone. And then the disease starts to clean itself up. And so
if they choose to do different things, like change their lifestyle, right? Not just
will, but the people who don't do the emotional work, because they have these limiting beliefs that I don't deserve to eat, that they don't change their diet, they don't change their lifestyle. And so I used to try to do all of the physical stuff first. Let me change your diet. Let's put you on these supplements. Let's do this, 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 and this, because I knew physically that's what their body need in order to heal. But what I found out with at least half of them, I couldn't get them to do that because they had so many limiting beliefs. And so I started working with those that just, every time they'd come in, oh, well, I couldn't follow the diet. I couldn't take my supplements. They taste bad. They do, all this stuff. I would start doing the Evox. I wouldn't even let them take the supplements, and we wouldn't do a whole lot on the diet until they've done a series of Evox, because I knew it's just setting them up for another failure.
I get it.
It's not healthy for them.
That's right. I get it. It's like I even told people, I don't coach anymore unless you go through my workshop, because it's so much easier to coach somebody once they become aware of these things. And Dr. Lee Cowden, who is one of your mentors and one of mine as well, he said that, it costs a lot of money to fix the body. But when you start with the mind and the spirit, fixing the body is very cheap. That's what he said. And so, those are things that we just need to know and be able to release on our own. If somebody were to walk in right now, because we're going to do a teacher's pet corner and answer all of your questions. And for those of you who are listening on podcasts, you are welcome to join us for the extended version on BitChute and also on Odyssey and of course, Facebook and YouTube, if I'm allowed to have it on YouTube. So if somebody were to walk in right now and would say, okay, you've talked about Evox, tell me the cliff notes, because give me the elevator speech of what I need to know for today's class. What's the most important aspect here?
Become aware of, your emotions and your triggers. I think that pay attention to your physical body, because that is your insight. That's your internal insight of that something's not quite right. If you have physical symptoms, will link you to the right emotion. So, because sometimes, it could be more sorrow than sadness, and we don't know how to verbally understand what we're feeling or say what we're feeling. And so that's when you can use these little cheat sheets or books like the Complete Dictionary of Ailments and Diseases. You can look up, okay, I have joint strain or pain, and it'll tell you the emotions associated with it. And then it also gives you affirmations to reprogram yourself, your brain. And that's when I studied Annie Hopper's work in how you retrain the brain. So there's many, many ways to help heal yourself emotionally and get you out of those ruts that you're stuck in. And it's very, very important to do that if you want optimal health. It doesn't have to be that you're dealing with disease. It's essential when you're dealing with disease, but let's try to prevent it. let's
Love
go a
that.
step further, and let's just be at our optimal levels, emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah. And that sounds great. Even if your life is perfect and you just want to see, what's going on in my body so that you have a baseline and work backwards and work forwards with yourself. So Dr. Gramith and I we've been talking about a date. So for those of you who want to do a cleanse with us, mark your calendar for November 10th, that week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday's the big day. That's the big explosion day. So put your calendar and let me know if you want to be a part of this cleanse that we're going to be doing. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, and Dr. Jennifer Gramith wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Stay tuned for the Teacher's Pet
The
Corner.
opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, we have some questions for you, Dr. Gramith. And remember, you need to write a Q. If you have a question, type a Q first and then write your question. And then I will ask it for Dr. Gramith. Okay, so the first question here. Okay, let me just read this before I say it because I don't want it to be banned. Four vaccines were not to test by scientists and others. Olive, I need for you to write your question a little different. I don't know what the question is, and I don't know if I ask it, if Dr. Gramith will understand. So if you can rewrite that question, I would really appreciate it, okay? Okay, so Jill has a question. How do biofeedback scans complement and resolve issues with your understanding of German new medicine? And then the next one is, how do we change the tracks using this technology?
So I'm very familiar. I've studied New German medicine, Dr. Hama's work and recall healing for years. That's where I got, this book that's been very helpful. And so, biofeedback helps you to see where the imbalance is. And then therapies like Evox helps you to reframe it. And so we can see what your perceptions are and how they're not serving you and how they're out of balance due to the grafting that comes from the Evox session. And then we can see it shift. So with each recording that we do, so let's say, for instance, you have the glasses on, your hands on the cradle. I have you focused in on mom. I may say, talk about your mother. I usually will guide them and say, I want you to remember as far back as you can as a little girl. And I want you to pretend that you're in the attic, you're looking through a mirror, and you're seeing yourself as that child with your mama. And I just want you to talk to mom. So you're your adult self there, you're looking at yourself as a child walking through life. So you're very, very safe. And so as they start talking to their mama, that's recorded. The tones of the voice is recorded. And it gives me that graph, and I can see what her perceptions are. Did I feel like I was conditionally loved? Did I have to prove myself all the time? Did I feel fear? Was I fearful? Was I ashamed? All of those will show up. Did I have repetitive, thoughts of, self-worth or guilt or whatever? And so as she goes through, what the client typically experiences is initially all of the traumas will start to play in the images in their brain. And so, for instance, my daughter went through that. I did Evox on her when she was going through divorce, and she was laying there and talking about her husband, Tyler. And all she could see was all the negative things, all the arguments, all the trauma. And then within just a few minutes, she started seeing all the positive things. And that's as her brain started to release the trauma, she had a different perception. She could
Wow.
see the good again, because we get stuck on the negative, you know.
You
And
see what you're looking for. If you're looking for,
exactly.
there he goes again, or there she goes again. If you're looking
what
for
you
negative,
expect. Yeah, you
yes.
see what you expect.
Yeah.
And that's always, you know, a lot of times that's not fair to the other individual, and it's not good for you. And so as you do another recording in the same session, you'll talk about me. I'll see the changes. I'll see it shift from feeling, you know, conditionally loved to moving from the red to a blue. So it's less of an impact on you. So you can actually see the transition. And you can sometimes see that it opens up a different doorway. Like now you can deal with, you know, the fear and abandonment issues. Now you can deal, you know, with these repetitive thoughts, things like that. So the graph starts to change, and then you get a release, and it's, you know, it's told to the therapist that's running the test, this person released the trapped emotion, and then you ask them, do you feel like you released it? So they can tell it, you can see it happen right before your eyes. It's very, very impressive and very quick. And that's why I love it. But I love New German medicine. New German medicine really goes and looks at your inherited trapped emotions, which is all in the subconscious mind. And a lot of things you've never been aware of. And I think that's important. So I use a combination of recall, healing, Evox, emotion code, you know, for each individual.
Wow. So, and of course, we all love Dr. Michelle Dawson, Lamasa Dawson. And she, as a matter of fact, I think next week she'll be in one of the watch parties. So we'll be doing a watch party on Dr. Lamasa Dawson. When it comes to the therapy aspect of Evox, so you do the analysis or the understanding where the emotions are trapped, or do you understand that with ZYTO? So my question,
ZYTO.
So you do ZYTO first, and then you understand that there are some trapped emotions. Then you do Evox. So how is the emotion then? What is said to release the emotion? Let's say I'm saying my dad's name over and over and over again. Or are you asking questions of, you know, how are you feeling? Or, you know, how is it that the person knows and you know that the emotion has been released? Is there something you say? Is there something they think or do?
The tones shift in their voice. So as a psychologist, you're trained to listen to the tones of your client's voice when they're talking to you. So psychologists don't necessarily listen to all the words that you're saying. They're listening, they're watching your body language, and they're listening to the tones. Well, Evox picks up those tones and it gives you that graph. So as the tones shift, the graph will change, and that tells the practitioner that things are shifting. The client just feels relief. And so the client, you know, once the therapy's over, can just say, oh, wow, I feel different. I feel better. I'm not as stressed. I'm not as burdened. I feel joyful, you know, things like that. And so, you know, now you can do Evox without doing a ZYTO comprehensive.
Okay.
So it's not that it has to go along with it, but that's typically what we do here, because I'm addressing the whole person and not just the emotional component. There's some practitioners that just do the emotions. You can have your clients say the name. I mean, all they have to do is be concentrated and focused on the person and just say their name over. They don't have to get into details or anything like that. However, sometimes people, when they just say it repetitively, it's distracting. And so they start to not focus. Mm-hmm. And so I have found that the visualization along with the words really help them to stay focused. So each practitioner does it a little bit different.
I'm looking forward to doing it. I think I did that a long time ago, but I never got the results. I didn't get any of the results. And so I would like to do it again with you to see how that works. I did the ZYTO with you, And so I want to continue that. I want to do the ZYTO again. I want to see if there's can you do it so that there is a baseline and then try it again to see how that works?
Well, you can, what we do when we do a ZYTO, we do a comparison up side by side. As far as on the same report, no, it doesn't combine the two, but you can do it.
But you can do it. You can do a side by side. Okay, great. So that's good. Now, regarding the cleanse, I know that Rosalinda, you're asking about the cleanse in November. Dr. Gramith is coming back October 21st, and we're going to talk about the liver, the gallbladder cleanse that we did, and we're going to probably modify it a little bit just so that all of you have awareness of how we're going to be doing this. So we'll probably meet on a Wednesday before the cleanse. And then Thursdays, make sure that Thursday morning, as you start this cleanse, that you are in a place where you are safe. I did a fast. I did a fast for 3 days. So technically, if you work out of the home or if you work out there, you're just doing I created my own broth, and I did the apple juice and the apple cider vinegar as Dr. Gramith had instructed me to do. So it's no big deal. I just kind of laid low. I didn't exercise. I didn't do any of that. I pretty much laid low. But on the third day, which would be Saturday, half the day is going to be the fast. But then after that, you are going to do other things. There's other things that you do. And then on Sunday, that's when the wonderful fireworks happen, and hopefully by then you will release whatever's in your body. And by the way, Dr. Gramith, I haven't said this to you because I know that you've been very busy lately. I had a CT done after my cleanse, and because I was beginning to feel some symptoms again. So I thought, before we go into the holiday weekend, I am just going to get the CT done, because I was supposed to do that after I had the ultrasound. Well, the CT shows that my liver and my gallbladder were clear.
Yay, good.
Absolutely clear. But it was my stomach now. I had to deal with my stomach. So all of those issues,
Step at a time. Yep.
One thing at a time, you just peel an onion. So I'm excited to do another cleanse just because I want to do that. I really enjoyed the experience. And now that I know what I'm heading into, but there are some contraindications that Dr. Gramith will make us aware. There are people that can do it. There are other people that shouldn't do it. But to be able to do this with Dr. Gramith is going to be such a blessing. There will be a charge to it, but it'll be intimate, and we'll have Dr. Gramith involved with us so that you're not on your own. Is there anything you want to add to that, Dr. Gramith?
I look forward to that. That's going to be a great time, and it's a great thing to do right before going into the holidays. Probably another good thing to do after the holidays.
Yeah, I know, I'm kind of torn. Maybe we'll do it again.
Yes, do it again.
I will tell you, after I did the cleanse, I went to visit my daughter. And was it my daughter that I went? No, I went to a home that had animals, particularly cats, and there were cat hairs everywhere. There were cat hairs. I wouldn't have been able to survive 5 minutes in a place like that. After the cleanse, I was there for 2 hours. I did have to take some vitamin C, but I didn't go into full allergy attack, whatever. So there is a benefit to cleansing because everything goes through the liver, every system. So I know, Dr. Gramith, it's time to say goodbye. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
Nope, I just enjoy it. And when we do the cleanse, just, that's a perfect time to really pay attention to your emotions, because as you cleanse organs and glands, you will release the emotions associated or that's causing the impact. So that's why it's another reason good to stay at home. You may go through a little bit of processing, and that's a good thing. Yeah. So I look forward to that. That'll be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I hope that more and more people decide to join us on this, because it is, as I was learning about the liver and the gallbladder, I was amazed that there are so many people out there that probably have congested livers and gallbladders. I was surgical. I was told to go to get surgery, and I'm so glad that I have my friend, Dr. Gramith, guiding me and coaching me, and she can be your coach as well. You can go to Rightway Health and Wellness.com. Check out her website, or you can call her at 404-474-2100 and start your journey to get healthy the right way. Thank you, Dr. Gramith, for everything that you do. I absolutely adore you. We'll stop the stream now. Bye. We'll see you.